It started like any other school day. It was Friday, November 22nd, 1963, the Friday before Thanksgiving and the three-day holiday it promised. I was 13 years old, an eighth grader at Our Lady of Grace School in Encino, California. Every morning before school, Tim Sisson and I raised the American flag on the pole in front of the school, right beside busy Ventura Boulevard. I had been given the job because I was a Boy Scout and considered reasonably dependable. I never knew why Tim was chosen. He was one of the bad boys. His blonde hair was combed straight back, just short enough to satisfy the school's grooming rules and just long enough to attract the girls. He was a sort of a 13-year-old James Dean. I liked him. As class began, everything seemed perfectly ordinary. Sister Peyton was teaching us something that would undoubtedly prove indispensable later in life. Long division, Palmer penmanship, something like that. Then the classroom speaker crackled. Every head turned. Sister Vincent's raspy voice came over the PA system. Students, there has been an accident in Dallas, Texas. President Kennedy has been injured. Teachers, will you take your classes to the church to pray for his recovery? There wasn't panic. There wasn't much talking. Sister Peyton quietly led us across the courtyard to the church, where every class knelt together. The nuns whispered among themselves. No one really knew what was happening 1,200 miles away. Information traveled more slowly in 1963. But we all felt a special connection to John Kennedy. He was America's first Catholic president. As I remember it, we prayed one decade of the rosary before returning to our classrooms. Nothing was normal anymore. The lesson for the day had quietly disappeared. Instead, the speaker carried a live radio broadcast. We listened as unfamiliar names drifted into the room. Dallas, Love Field, Governor Connolly, Daley Plaza, motorcade. Then one word cut through everything. Assassination. That couldn't be. The only president who ever had been assassinated, as far as we eighth graders knew, was Abraham Lincoln. And that happened 100 years ago. Then the classroom door opened. Sister Vincent stepped inside. She quietly whispered something to Sister Peyton and left. For a moment, Sister Peyton simply stood there. Then she looked up. Boys and girls, she paused. President Kennedy is dead. It was 11 o'clock. The room became absolutely silent. I don't know why I did what I did next. Nobody asked me to. Nobody told me to. It simply seemed like the right thing to do. Without asking permission or even saying where I was going, I stood up, walked out of the classroom, and went to the flagpole. Slowly, as carefully and respectfully as I knew how, I lowered the American flag to half-staff. It was the first time I had ever done it. Then I stood quietly for a minute or two. Cars continued moving along Ventura Boulevard. Nobody stopped. Nobody knew why the flag had suddenly been lowered. Then I returned to class. School was dismissed early that afternoon. When I got home, my parents were already glued to our black and white television. Like millions of other American families, we watched the news hour after hour. The country seemed to stop. On Sunday morning, I wandered outside to play roof football. It was a one-person game. I'd throw the football onto the roof of our house and try to catch it as it came bouncing down. In my imagination, I wasn't Bruce Murphy anymore. I was USC quarterback Pete Beathard throwing touchdown passes to himself. Because I was so absorbed in the game, I was probably one of the few 13-year-olds in America who missed seeing Lee Harvey Oswald shot on live television. Years later, I found myself thinking about one particular driver on Ventura Boulevard. As he passed Our Lady of Grace that Friday morning, he looked over and saw a 13-year-old boy lowering the American flag to half-staff. I imagine he wondered what happened. Perhaps he drove on to work puzzled, not knowing the reason until he arrived. If anyone ever asked him where he was when President Kennedy was assassinated, maybe he'd say, I remember driving down Ventura Boulevard. I saw a flag at half-staff in front of a school, but I didn't know why until I got home. Looking back now, I realize that for a few minutes that morning, I may have been the first person in Encino to tell thousands of strangers that something terrible had happened. I never said a word. I simply lowered the flag. That morning, without realizing it, I had become the town crier.